My name is Uma Donovan, and I'm 28 years old. 5 years ago, my family called me their ugly dropout and cut me off completely. Last month, I walked into my sister's graduation ceremony as the anonymous donor who controlled her entire future. When the dean asked if I knew the valedictorian, I pulled out a contract worth $5 million. What happened next left 500 guests speechless, my mother in tears, and my golden child sister watching her perfect life crumble in real time. Before I reveal how I orchestrated the most public downfall in our university's history, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Where are you watching from? Share your location and local time below. I love knowing how far these stories of justice travel. Let me take you back to where this all started. The Donovan family of Greenwich, Connecticut looked perfect from the outside. My mother, Patricia, sat on 3 private school boards, hosted charity galas in our colonial mansion, and never missed an opportunity to showcase her achievements, especially her daughters. Well, one daughter. Victoria was everything Mother wanted. Blonde, delicate features, honor roll since kindergarten. Her achievements covered an entire wall in our living room. Lacrosse trophies on custom mahogany shelves, debate championships in gold frames, acceptance letters from Ivy League schools preserved under museum glass. The Waterford crystal chandelier seemed to spotlight her shrine whenever guests visited. Then there was me. Dark hair that refused to straighten, a nose Mother called unfortunate, and a body that preferred comfort over cocktail dresses. My corner had one photo from middle school science fair, turned backwards. It doesn't match the aesthetic, Mother explained to visitors. What those visitors never knew? I scored 1580 on my SATs, higher than Victoria's 1490. But when I mentioned it at dinner, Mother's response was swift. Test scores don't matter if you can't present yourself properly. Victoria understands that. She has the complete package. The complete package. That phrase followed me through every family gathering, every introduction, every moment Victoria's achievements were celebrated while mine were dismissed. My full-ride scholarship to MIT? Well, they need to fill diversity quotas. My first place in the state robotics competition? Victoria's debate trophy photographs better. By the time I turned 18, I'd learned my role in the Donovan family ecosystem, the cautionary tale that made Victoria shine brighter, the ugly duckling who proved, by contrast, how beautiful the swan really was. I just didn't know yet that ugly ducklings sometimes grow up to own the whole lake. The favoritism reached its peak during my 18th birthday. Mother threw Victoria a $30,000 Sweet 16 at the country club, ice sculptures, a string quartet, and a custom Vera Wang dress. For my 18th, a dinner at home with a grocery store cake. You wouldn't want all that attention anyway, Mother said, cutting me a slice while Victoria live-streamed from her new Mercedes, another birthday gift. At least try to look happy in the background, Victoria smirked, angling her phone. My followers think you're the help. That same year, Mother decided my future, pre-med at Yale, where Victoria was already thriving in political science. Medicine is respectable, and you need a career that doesn't depend on presentation. Behind-the-scenes work suits you. Behind the scenes, even my dreams were supposed to be invisible. But I want to study computer science, I protested, showing her my acceptance to MIT's engineering program. I'm building an educational app that could— Apps? Mother's laugh was sharp as her manicured nails. Darling, leave the innovation to people with presence. Victoria's internship at the governor's office will open real doors. Your little coding hobby won't pay for this lifestyle. I kept every email from that period in a folder marked evidence. Not sure why, even then. Maybe some part of me knew I'd need proof that this happened, that I wasn't imagining the systematic erasure of everything I achieved. Victoria's contribution was typically cruel. Maybe if you spent less time hiding behind a computer screen and more time at the gym, Mother would take you seriously. I mean, look at us together. People think you're adopted. The irony? While they mocked my coding hobby, my educational app already had 5,000 beta users. High school teachers were emailing me daily, begging for full access. But in the Donovan house, if it didn't come with a gold frame or a society page mention, it didn't exist. Something inside me was keeping score, saving receipts. I just didn't know what for yet. Thanksgiving sophomore year became my breaking point. I just secured my first angel investor meeting for my educational platform, now with 10,000 active users. I made the mistake of sharing the news at dinner. "So this computer thing is why your grades are dropping?" Mother carved the turkey with surgical precision. "Victoria made Dean's List again, and you're wasting Yale's resources on some internet project?" "It's not just some project. Schools in 12 states are implementing." Victoria interrupted with her phone raised. "Oh my God, Uma actually thinks she's the next Mark Zuckerberg." She snapped a photo of me mid-sentence, mouth open, frustration clear on my face. "This is hilarious. When your sister thinks she's a tech genius but can't even dress herself properly." Posted. Within minutes, her 20,000 followers were adding their own captions. Mothers scrolled through them, actually laughing. "At least Victoria knows how to build a brand," she said. "You could learn from her instead of embarrassing yourself with these delusions." That night, I made my decision. I packed everything important into my beat-up Honda and left a note. "Going to build something that matters." Mother's response came via text at 3 a.m. "If you leave this house to chase your stupid dreams, don't come back. You're cut off. No tuition, no trust fund, no family. Victoria is my only daughter now." The last thing she said in a follow-up text would haunt her 5 years later. The ugly one finally showed her true colors, a failure and a dropout. "Don't contact us again." I screenshot everything, saved it in that same folder marked evidence. Then I drove through the night towards Silicon Valley, my app running on my phone. Those 10,000 users, the only validation I needed. The Donovan family had made their choice. Now I would make mine. The cruelty of family abandonment hits different when it's calculated and complete. Mother didn't just cut me off, she orchestrated my erasure. She changed the locks on the house within 48 hours, removed my name from the family phone plan, told the country club I'd had a mental breakdown and shouldn't be allowed on the premises. "Your sister is going through some psychological issues," I heard her tell mutual friends through the gossip network. "We tried everything, but she refused help. Sometimes tough love means letting them hit rock bottom." Rock bottom. She had no idea what that really looked like. Victoria played her part perfectly, posting Instagram stories from family Christmas dinner with captions like, "Perfect family time," well, almost perfect, and "so grateful for parents who support real ambition." The photo of my empty chair at the table got 5,000 likes. Meanwhile, I was sleeping in my Honda in a Walmart parking lot, showering at the gym, and working 3 jobs to keep my startup alive. Morning shift at Starbucks, afternoon tutoring, night coding until 3 a.m. My app had grown to 50,000 users, but without funding, the servers kept crashing. The worst part? Victoria sent me screenshots of my failures. "Saw your app is down again. Maybe this is the universe telling you to give up?" Then, "Mom's redecorating your old room. It's going to be her new gift wrapping station." I saved every message, every cruel text, every mocking email. My evidence folder grew alongside my exhaustion. 47 venture capitalists rejected my pitch. "Interesting concept, but you lack the pedigree we typically invest in." Translation: no family connections, no Ivy League degree to finish, no trust fund to fall back on. One investor actually Googled me during the meeting and asked about the family situation. Apparently, Mother's gossip had reached San Francisco. But anger is a powerful fuel. Every rejection, every night in my car, every cruel message from Victoria, I converted it all into code, into features, into determination. My family thought they'd buried me. They didn't realize they'd actually planted me. 2 months of living in my car broke something in me, or maybe it forged something harder. December in California isn't Connecticut cold, but at 3 a.m. in a parking lot, wrapped in a sleeping bag from Goodwill, it's cold enough to make you question everything. The morning Starbucks manager found me brushing my teeth in the employee bathroom. I thought it was over. Instead, she quietly handed me a bag with a sandwich and said, "I've been there. Keep pushing." That same day, Victoria sent another email with the subject line, "Life Update." "Just wanted you to know I got the Richardson Scholarship, $200,000 for my senior year and graduate school. Mom threw a surprise party at the club. Everyone asked about you. Mom told them you're finding yourself in California. LOL. How's the car? Still pretending to be the next Steve Jobs while flipping lattes?" I stared at that email on my cracked phone screen, rain starting to hit my windshield. My app had 75,000 users now, but I couldn't afford proper servers. Teachers were begging me not to shut down, sending testimonials about struggling students who'd finally started succeeding. "While you're flipping burgers," Victoria's next text read, "I just got into Harvard Law's early admission. Mom's already planning my graduation party. Shame you won't be invited to that one either." That night, I did something I'd never done before. I replied to one of her messages. "Congratulations, Victoria. Save these texts." "Why? Planning to show them to your therapist?" Something like that. I didn't tell her I'd just been accepted to speak at TechCrunch Disrupt's Startup Battlefield, or that my session on educational equity through technology was already sold out. Some things are better kept in the evidence folder until the right moment. Rock bottom, I learned, is just the foundation for everything you build next. Everything changed at a hackathon in Palo Alto. 48 hours straight of coding, fueled by free Red Bull and determination. I hadn't slept in my car for 3 days, saving gas money for the entry fee. "Your platform is processing how many students?" Marcus Chen, a judge and angel investor, stared at my demo. "With no funding?" 75,000 active users across 16 states. I showed him the testimonials from teachers, the improvement metrics, the waiting list of schools begging for access. "And you're living in your car to keep this running?" I nodded. No point hiding it. The parking permit on my dashboard was visible. Marcus made a call right there. 20 minutes later, I had a $50,000 seed investment and keys to a startup incubator space with a shower and a couch. "Your family's loss," he said, shaking my hand, "is the tech world's gain." Within a month, I hired 2 developers from my hackathon team. My platform hit 100,000 users. TechCrunch ran a feature. College Dropout's EdTech startup revolutionizes remote learning. The irony wasn't lost on me. Victoria must have seen the article. Her text was predictable. "Cute little PR piece, though they definitely photoshopped your headshot. BTW, I'm speaking at the Connecticut Education Summit next month. You know, real influence, not internet metrics." I didn't respond. I was too busy fielding acquisition offers and planning our Series A round. But I saved her message in my evidence folder, right next to the screenshot of my bank account showing the first $50,000. The girl living in her car 6 weeks ago now had a team, an office, and a mission. But more importantly, I had something my family never expected me to have: patience. The best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with documentation. 3 years of silence ended with a LinkedIn notification. "Patricia Donovan viewed your profile." My company was now valued at $10 million. We'd just announced our Series B funding. The Wall Street Journal called us the future of educational technology. Suddenly, my mother remembered I existed. The message came 2 days later, formal as a subpoena. "Uma, I hope you're well. Victoria is applying to the Fletcher Fellowship, the same accelerator program you apparently graduated from. As her sister, the least you could do is write a recommendation letter. Family supports family, regardless of past misunderstandings." Past misunderstandings. That's what she called abandoning me to live in my car. "I need this by Friday," her follow-up read. Don't embarrass the family further by being petty. I drafted my response carefully. I cannot write a recommendation for someone I don't know professionally. Best of luck to Victoria. Mother's next message dropped all pretense. After everything we invested in your education, this is how you repay us? Victoria has worked harder than you ever did. If you don't help her, I'll make sure everyone in your precious tech world knows about your mental health issues and unstable past. Mental health issues. The ones she invented when she kicked me out. Do what you need to do, I replied. She did. Within a week, posts appeared on alumni networks about my troubled history and family estrangement due to psychological problems. Victoria contributed her own LinkedIn article, When Success Comes Despite a Difficult Sibling, My Journey. She actually monetized our relationship, painting herself as the supportive sister who tried to help her struggling sibling. One potential partnership, a $2 million deal with an educational publisher, called to discuss concerns about my background. They pulled out the next day. But while my family was playing checkers, I'd been playing chess. Every post they made, every lie they spread, every threat they issued, I documented it all. My lawyer called it a gift-wrapped defamation case. Should we proceed with legal action? She asked. Not yet, but start preparing the paperwork. The family's retaliation was swift and vicious. Mother posted in the Yale alumni Facebook group about her heartbreak over her daughter's refusal to seek help. Victoria started a whisper campaign, calling my former classmates with concerns about my stability and suggesting they distance themselves professionally. I'm just worried about her, Victoria told a mutual connection, who immediately forwarded me the conversation. She's always been jealous of my success. Now she's trying to sabotage my fellowship application out of spite. The irony burned. She had everything, the family support, the trust fund, the connections, and still needed to destroy me to feel secure. 3 more investors expressed concerns. My board called an emergency meeting. One member actually asked if I should take a break for the company's reputation. Your family drama is becoming a liability, the board chair said bluntly. Fix this or step aside. That night, alone in my apartment, a real apartment now, not my Honda, I nearly gave up. I had the NDA drafted, ready to sign away my right to speak about them in exchange for their silence. Then, Marcus Chen, my first investor, called. Just got an interesting email from a Professor Mitchell at your sister's college. You might want to hear this. Professor Mitchell had been tracking Victoria's academic work for 2 years. The plagiarism was extensive. 5 papers, including her senior thesis, which borrowed heavily from code I'd written and published open source 3 years earlier. My code, in her thesis about innovation in educational technology. She's about to receive the President's Award at graduation, Professor Mitchell explained. I've been overruled by the administration because of your mother's donations. But if someone with standing were to raise this publicly... Standing. I looked at my bank account, my company's valuation, the offers coming in. Send me everything, I told her. They didn't know I had been preparing for this moment. They were about to find out. The board meeting that should have ended my career became my darkest hour. 12 people in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking San Francisco, all avoiding eye contact. The negative press is affecting our valuation, the lead investor said, sliding a folder across the mahogany table. We've had 3 major clients express concerns. Uma, we think it's best if you take a temporary leave as CEO. Temporary. We all knew what that meant. My family is spreading lies. Your family is well connected, he interrupted. Your mother sits on boards with people we need. Your sister's LinkedIn article has been shared 50,000 times. True or not, perception is reality in this business. My phone buzzed. Victoria. Heard about your little board meeting. Maybe it's time to admit you're not CEO material. Some of us are born leaders, others are just dropouts. I wanted to show them Professor Mitchell's evidence right then, but my lawyer had advised waiting. If you're going to strike, make it count. One shot, public, undeniable. I need a week, I told the board. Give me 1 week to resolve this. They agreed, barely. As I left, I heard one member whisper, "Should have known better than to back someone with baggage." Baggage? Is that what they called systematic family abuse now? That afternoon, my company's valuation dropped 30% in private markets. TechCrunch ran a piece. Educational startup CEO faces questions about leadership amid family controversy. They quoted anonymous sources about my erratic behavior and questionable judgment. My crisis management firm was blunt. Your family is winning the narrative war. Unless you have something concrete, you should consider settling. Settling. Letting them win. Again. I sat in my office that night, watching the city lights, my resignation letter drafted on my laptop. 5 years of building this company, and my family could still destroy me with whispers and lies. My phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Donovan, this is Robert Harrison from Steinberg Ventures. We've been watching your company. We'd like to make an acquisition offer. $50 million. $50 million. There's one condition, he continued. We need this family situation resolved. Permanently. Suddenly, I had the resources to set things right. The question was, how far was I willing to go? The lowest point came when Mother appeared in my office lobby with 2 lawyers. Security called me down, and there she stood in her St. John's suit and pearls, looking at my company's awards wall with disdain. "Uma," she said, as if we'd last spoken yesterday instead of 3 years ago. "This has gone far enough. You're destroying Victoria's future with your jealousy." I haven't said a word about Victoria publicly. Refusing to write her recommendation is sabotage. She pulled out a document. Sign this. It states you'll cease any interference with Victoria's career and acknowledge that your struggles are not our family's responsibility. And if I don't? We'll file a defamation suit. Your little company won't survive the legal fees even if you win. Her lawyer smiled. We've documented your mental health crisis, your dropout status, your homelessness. A jury will see a disturbed individual lashing out at a successful family. Mental health crisis. They were really going to gaslight me in court. You have 48 hours, Mother said, turning to leave. Then, over her shoulder, you've always been jealous of your sister's success. This spite is exactly why we had to cut you off. That night, I nearly signed it. My lawyer reviewed the document. It's aggressive but legal. Sign this and they own the narrative forever. Forever. Victoria would graduate with honors, build her career on plagiarized work, and I'd be legally bound to silence. I was pulling the pen out when my phone chimed. Professor Mitchell. Victoria just submitted her final paper. It's your code again, line for line. I have everything documented, notarized, and witnessed. The graduation ceremony is in 2 weeks. The President's Award will be presented to her publicly. If you wanted to make a statement... A public ceremony. 500 witnesses, Victoria receiving the highest honor based on my stolen work. I put the pen down and opened my laptop. Time to make a different kind of investment. I can't let them do this to another person. That's what I told Marcus when I called him at midnight. This isn't about revenge. If Victoria gets away with this, she'll do it her entire career, and my mother will enable it. What do you need? Marcus asked without hesitation. Time, and a good lawyer who specializes in academic fraud. The next morning, I signed the acquisition deal. $50 million with $20 million up front. Overnight, I went from troubled dropout to multimillionaire, but I didn't announce it. Not yet. Professor Mitchell sent me everything. 5 papers, 3 presentations, and Victoria's senior thesis, all containing my code, my algorithms, even my comments that I'd forgotten to remove from the open-source repository. She didn't even change the variable names, Professor Mitchell said. It's the sloppiest plagiarism I've seen in 20 years. But your mother donates $500,000 annually. The administration won't touch her. Won't. Not can't. There's a difference. I spent the next 3 days researching Victoria's college. They were launching a capital campaign for a new technology center. They needed $10 million. They had raised 4. What if an anonymous donor offered 5 million? I asked my lawyer. That would make them the largest donor in the school's history. And if that donation came with conditions? She smiled. Every donation does. What kind of conditions are we talking about? The kind that are ironclad and retroactive. That afternoon, I created the Foundation for Educational Integrity. Its first act would be a transformative gift to Victoria's college. The contract was 30 pages long, but the key clause was simple. Any student found guilty of academic fraud would trigger an immediate review and potential revocation of all honors, scholarships, and degrees. Retroactive to the current academic year. Victoria's graduation was in 10 days. Time to see if money could buy justice. At this point, many people would say I should just move on and let karma handle it. But sometimes karma needs a little help from good documentation and contract law. If you've ever been gaslit by toxic family members who rewrote history to make themselves the heroes, type boundaries in the comments below. And if this story resonates with you, a simple like helps it reach others who need to hear they're not alone in dealing with family betrayal. Now, let me tell you about my 2-year plan that was about to unfold. The acquisition announcement changed everything, but I kept it quiet for exactly 6 days. My board, thrilled with the exit, agreed to let me handle the family situation my way. $50 million buys a lot of patience. Congratulations, my new CEO sent via text. Take your time with the transition. We want you happy and focused. Happy. I hadn't felt that in years. But I was about to feel something better. Vindicated. The same day, Dean Harrison from Victoria's College called personally. Ms. Donovan, we've received your foundation's pledge. $5 million is transformative. The board is meeting tomorrow to approve the terms. All the terms? I asked. Every single one. The academic integrity clause is actually something we've wanted to implement for years. Your donation gives us the leverage to enforce it. Leverage. My new favorite word. Meanwhile, my family had no idea. Victoria posted another Instagram story from campus. Final week before graduation. Can't wait for everyone to see me get the President's Award. #blessed, #hard work pays off. Hard work. She meant my hard work, stolen line by line. Mother sent one last threatening email. 24 hours left to sign our agreement, or we file suit Monday morning. Don't test me, Uma. You've always been too emotional to think strategically. I forwarded it to my lawyer with one word. Evidence. That night, I stood in my empty office, the acquisition team would move in next week, and looked at my wall of code printouts. 5 years ago, I'd written those algorithms while sleeping in my car, dreaming of helping struggling students. Victoria had copy-pasted them into a thesis about innovative solutions for educational equity. The irony was perfect. She'd stolen my work about helping others to help herself. My phone buzzed. The dean again. The board unanimously approved your donation. The announcement will be made at graduation, right before the President's Award. You're invited as our guest of honor, though you can remain anonymous until the ceremony if you prefer. Anonymous until the ceremony. Even better than I'd planned. I'll be there, I replied. Save me a seat on stage. With $5 million committed and the contract signed, I began Phase 2. Documentation. My lawyer hired a forensic analyst to compare Victoria's papers with my published code. The results were damning. 92% similarity, the analyst reported. She literally copied your GitHub repository and pasted it into her thesis. The timestamps show your code was published 2 years before her first draft. Is this enough for academic fraud? This is enough for criminal copyright infringement, but I assume you want to handle this differently? I did. Criminal charges would make me look vindictive. But a donation contract with an integrity clause? That was just good governance. Dean Harrison called again. Ms. Donovan, I need to inform you of something delicate. We've received an internal complaint about Victoria Donovan's academic work. Given your donation's integrity clause, we're obligated to investigate before graduation. Who filed the complaint? I asked, knowing the answer. Professor Mitchell. She's been documenting issues for 2 years, but was previously overruled. Your donation changes the dynamics. If fraud is discovered, we'll have to act, regardless of considerations. Other considerations, like my mother's $500,000 annual donations. I understand, I said. The Foundation's position is clear. Academic integrity is non-negotiable. The investigation will be complete by graduation day. If violations are found, we'll need to address them publicly, given the President's Award is a public honor. Publicly. 500 guests, including my mother's entire social circle, would witness whatever came next. I spent the next 3 days preparing. I bought a new suit, understated but expensive, the kind of quiet luxury my mother always preached but never thought I could achieve. I had my assistant book a suite at the Four Seasons near campus. I even hired a security detail, just in case things got heated. Why security? My lawyer asked. You haven't met my mother. When she realizes what's happening, she'll try to stop it. She can't stop a legal contract. No, I agreed, pulling up the donation agreement on my tablet. She can't. The private investigator I hired worked within legal bounds but was thorough. Within 72 hours, she had everything. Receipts from essaymill.com linked to Victoria's credit card, emails between Victoria and the ghostwriter, even Victoria's Venmo payments labeled homework help. Your sister wasn't subtle, the investigator said, sliding the folder across my desk. She paid $15,000 over 4 years for papers. But here's the interesting part. Your mother knew. She showed me an email from Mother to Victoria. Use the supplementary card for your tutoring expenses. Keep receipts minimal. Tutoring expenses, code for academic fraud. Professor Mitchell added her own evidence. 3 plagiarized papers from Victoria's junior year, all flagged by detection software but overruled by the department chair after a significant donation from my mother. I've been keeping records since Victoria's sophomore year, Mitchell told me over coffee. Your mother actually threatened my tenure when I first raised concerns, but with your donation's integrity clause, she has no power here. Would you be willing to present this at graduation if needed? I've been waiting 3 years for this opportunity. My lawyer reviewed everything. This is enough to revoke her degree, her scholarships, everything. But Uma, are you prepared for the nuclear option? This will destroy your relationship with your family permanently. They destroyed it 5 years ago when they left me homeless. I'm just finishing what they started. That night, I received one last text from Victoria. See you never, loser. After I get the President's Award tomorrow, I'm starting at Goldman Sachs. Mom's already planning my celebration at the club. Shame you'll miss it. Oh wait, you were never invited anyway. I didn't respond, but I did forward the text to my lawyer with a note. Please add this to the evidence file. Tomorrow, everything would change. And they still had no idea who their anonymous donor was. Graduation day -1. I sat in Dean Harrison's office as he walked me through the ceremony protocol. The mahogany desk between us held the program for tomorrow's event. Victoria's name in gold embossing under President's Award for Academic Excellence. The donor recognition will happen immediately before the President's Award, he explained. You'll be seated with the faculty initially. When I call for the anonymous benefactor, that's your cue. And my family? Your mother is in the VIP section, front row. She's actually giving a speech about supporting educational excellence. He paused. She has no idea you're the donor? None. This could get uncomfortable. Dean Harrison, my $5 million comes with one promise: absolute enforcement of academic integrity. Are you prepared for that? He straightened. The investigation into Ms. Victoria Donovan is complete. Professor Mitchell will be standing by with the evidence. If you choose to invoke the integrity clause publicly, we'll honor it immediately. If I choose, the power felt surreal. One more thing, I said. I'll need 2 security personnel near the stage. Expecting trouble? Expecting my mother. When she realizes what's happening, she'll try to interrupt. I need to finish what I came to say. That evening, I stood in my hotel room, looking at the suit hanging on the door. Tom Ford, tailored perfectly, with a subtle Patek Philippe watch. The kind of understated wealth my mother always aspired to, but could never quite achieve. 5 years ago, she'd called me ugly and worthless. Tomorrow, I'd show her what worthless really looked like. My phone buzzed. Marcus, you sure about this? Once it's done, there's no going back. They had 5 years to reach out with genuine apology. Instead, they tried to destroy my company last week. Then give them hell. Professionally, of course. Professionally. That was the key. No emotional outbursts, no vindictive speeches, just facts, contracts, and consequences. In 12 hours, I texted back, everything changes. The evidence folder on my laptop contained 247 files. Tomorrow, they'd all matter. Graduation morning arrived crisp and bright, the kind of New England spring day that looked designed for Instagram stories. 500 guests filled the auditorium, a sea of pastels and proud parents. I entered through the back, my Tom Ford suit drawing a few appreciative glances, but no recognition. 5 years and 30 pounds of muscle from stress-driven gym sessions had changed me enough. From my seat in the faculty section, I could see everything. Mother held court in the front row, her coral Chanel suit perfectly coordinated with her pearl clutch. She was telling another parent about Victoria's exceptional journey and her upcoming position at Goldman Sachs. Victoria sat with the honors students, her blonde hair gleaming under the lights, her smile practiced and perfect. She kept checking her phone, probably monitoring the likes on her big day posts. The ceremony began with the usual speeches about achievement and future potential. Then Dean Harrison took the podium. Before we present our highest honor, I want to recognize an extraordinary act of generosity. An anonymous donor has contributed $5 million to establish our new Center for Educational Technology and Integrity. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. $5 million was unprecedented for this school. This transformative gift comes with a powerful mission to ensure that academic excellence is always paired with academic integrity. The donor is here today and has asked to remain anonymous until this moment. Mother was scanning the crowd, probably calculating which of her society friends had that kind of money. I'd like to invite our benefactor to the stage, Dean Harrison continued. Ms. Uma Donovan. I stood. The auditorium fell silent. You could hear pearls clutching. Mother's face went from confusion to recognition to horror in 3 seconds. Victoria's phone clattered to the floor. Someone in the back whispered, "Is that the Donovan family's other daughter?" I walked to the stage with measured steps, my security detail subtly positioning themselves near the stairs. Professor Mitchell moved closer to the podium, iPad in hand. Dean Harrison shook my hand. "Ms. Donovan, would you like to say a few words?" I took the microphone and looked directly at my mother's stunned face. "Thank you, Dean Harrison. It's interesting how life comes full circle. 5 years ago, I was called ugly, worthless, and a dropout by the people who should have loved me most. Today, I stand here as proof that sometimes the best families are the ones we build ourselves." Victoria was trying to leave her seat. An usher gently blocked her path. Time for the real show to begin. "Education saved my life," I continued, my voice steady through the microphone. "When my biological family abandoned me for dropping out to pursue my passion, teachers and mentors became my chosen family. That's why I'm donating this money, to ensure that every student has the support they deserve." Mother was on her feet now, trying to move toward the stage. Security stepped forward subtly. "But support must be paired with integrity," I said, looking directly at Victoria. "Excellence without honesty is just fraud with a fancy degree." Dean Harrison cleared his throat. "Speaking of excellence, we're about to present the President's Award to Ms. Victoria Donovan." "Actually, I said, still holding the microphone. I need to invoke Section 7.3 of my donation agreement. The dean nodded gravely. He'd been expecting this. Victoria's face had gone pale. She knew something was coming, but not what. Section 7.3 states that any recipient of college honors must meet the highest standards of academic integrity. If violations are discovered, even after the fact, all honors and scholarships are subject to review and revocation. This is ridiculous, Mother's voice cut through the auditorium. You can't hijack my daughter's graduation with your jealousy. I'm not hijacking anything, Patricia. First name, a calculated choice. I'm simply ensuring that the college's standards are upheld. Professor Mitchell, would you join us? Mitchell walked onto the stage with her iPad, her expression professionally neutral. Professor Mitchell has been documenting academic irregularities for 3 years, I announced. She has evidence of systematic plagiarism, including the wholesale theft of open-source code for a senior thesis. The crowd was buzzing now. Parents were whispering, students were recording on their phones. That code, I continued, was written by me, published 2 years before Victoria's thesis. She didn't just steal ideas, she copied and pasted my work, line by line, and submitted it as her own. You're lying, Victoria finally found her voice. You're just bitter because I succeeded where you failed. I smiled calmly. I sold my company for $50 million last week. You plagiarized my code. Which one of us failed exactly? The gasps from the audience were audible. Mother sank back into her chair. Success, I said, letting the word hang in the air, cannot be built on a foundation of lies. When I created my educational platform 5 years ago, sleeping in my car because my family had disowned me, I open-sourced the code. I wanted to help students everywhere, regardless of their circumstances. I clicked a button on the presentation remote. Behind me, the screen lit up with side-by-side comparisons. My GitHub repository from 2021 and Victoria's thesis from 2024. Every algorithm, every function, even my commenting style, all copied directly into what Victoria called her innovative approach to educational technology. The evidence was undeniable. The timestamps, the variable names, even my typos that Victoria had failed to correct. But this isn't just about code, I continued. Professor Mitchell, would you share what else you've discovered? Mitchell stepped forward, her voice clear and professional. Over the past 4 years, I've documented 5 instances of purchased papers, 3 cases of direct plagiarism, and extensive use of essay mills. I have receipts, emails, and payment records. She clicked through her iPad, and the screen showed Venmo transactions. Victoria Donovan paid essay mill Tom $500. Homework help. This is a setup. Mother was standing again, her voice shrill. You're destroying your sister out of spite. No, I said calmly. I'm ensuring that a $200,000 scholarship doesn't go to someone who bought their achievements. That Goldman Sachs doesn't hire someone who will steal intellectual property. That this institution's reputation isn't tarnished by graduating a fraud. I turned to Dean Harrison. As the primary donor to this institution, I formally invoke the Integrity Clause. I request an immediate review of Victoria Donovan's academic record before any honors are awarded. The dean nodded. Given the evidence presented, we have no choice but to suspend the President's Award pending a full investigation. Victoria burst into tears, not pretty tears, the ugly, gasping kind that ruined makeup and revealed the person underneath. However, I added, raising my voice over the chaos, my donation stands. The $5 million will still establish the Center for Educational Technology and Integrity, and we'll be creating a new scholarship program. I paused, looking at the audience full of students. For those who've been told they're not enough, who've been abandoned by family, who've had to fight for every opportunity, because real success isn't inherited or stolen, it's earned. The applause started slowly, then built to thunder. This moment, standing before 500 witnesses, I could have chosen revenge or justice. I chose justice. If you've ever faced a similar choice, you understand the weight of this decision. Share your story in the comments. Sometimes knowing we're not alone is what matters most. And if you want to see how this story ends, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The most shocking part is still coming. Let me read directly from the contract, I said, pulling out the document. Section 7.3, Academic Integrity Clause. Any recipient of honors, awards, or scholarships from this institution who is found to have engaged in academic fraud shall face immediate revocation of said honors. This clause is retroactive to the current academic year and applies to all students, regardless of other contributions or considerations. The screen behind me displayed the full contract, signatures visible, notarized, and legally binding. This isn't personal, I continued, though we all knew it was. This is about standards. If we allow plagiarism at this level, what message does that send to every honest student who stayed up until 3 a.m. writing their own papers? A student in the audience shouted, "Thank you." Others began clapping. Dean Harrison took the microphone. The evidence presented requires immediate action. Ms. Victoria Donovan, please remain after the ceremony. The President's Award is hereby suspended pending full investigation. You can't do this! Mother was trying to climb onto the stage now. Security moved to intercept. I've donated $500,000 to this school. And I've donated $5 million, I said coolly, with explicit conditions that you helped make necessary. Professor Mitchell pulled up another slide. This email from Patricia Donovan to her daughter explicitly discusses tutoring expenses that correspond exactly with payments to essay mills. The email was damning. Use the supplementary card for your tutoring expenses. Keep receipts minimal. Remember, presentation matters more than process. You encouraged her to cheat, Mitchell said, looking at my mother. You funded it. You covered it up when faculty raised concerns. This isn't just about Victoria. It's about a systematic undermining of academic integrity. The crowd was in uproar now. Parents were arguing, students were filming, and somewhere in the chaos, a reporter was speaking rapidly into her phone. As of this moment, Dean Harrison announced, all honors and scholarships awarded to Victoria Donovan are suspended. The board will meet Monday for a full review. Victoria stood up, mascara streaming down her face. You ruined my life. Goldman Sachs will withdraw their offer. Goldman Sachs doesn't hire plagiarists, I said simply. I should know. I'm meeting with their venture capital arm next week about my new company. The truth of it hit her then. While she'd been stealing my old code, I'd been building an empire. Professor Mitchell wasn't finished. She connected her iPad to the presentation system, her voice cutting through the chaos with surgical precision. I want the audience to understand the scope of this fraud, she announced. This isn't a single desperate mistake. This is systematic deception spanning 4 years. The screen filled with evidence. 5 plagiarized papers, each with side-by-side comparisons showing original sources and Victoria's submissions. The similarity percentages range from 78% to 94%. The senior thesis was the boldest theft, Mitchell continued. Ms. Victoria Donovan submitted 12,000 words about educational technology innovation. 11,000 of those words were code and documentation created by Uma Donovan and published on GitHub in 2021. She clicked again. Here are the payment records. $15,000 over 4 years to various essay mills, paid for by a credit card in Patricia Donovan's name. Mother had stopped trying to reach the stage. She stood frozen, watching her carefully constructed world collapse. But the most damaging evidence, Mitchell said, is this email chain from last year. The screen showed an exchange between Victoria and someone named Academic Helper Pro. Victoria. Need a paper on educational equity. Has to sound smart, but not too technical. Helper. I can repurpose some open source code I found. Kid named Uma Donovan posted it. She's nobody. Victoria. Perfect. She's my loser sister who dropped out. No one will ever check. The auditorium went silent. I hadn't known about that email. The casualness of it, calling me nobody, using my failure as cover for her fraud, hit harder than expected. Nobody, I repeated into the microphone. Your nobody sister just cost you everything. An administrator approached Dean Harrison, whispering urgently. The dean nodded and returned to the microphone. I've just been informed that Goldman Sachs has been contacted by a journalist covering this story. They've preemptively withdrawn their employment offer to Ms. Victoria Donovan, effective immediately. Victoria collapsed into her chair. The golden child who'd had everything handed to her was watching it all evaporate in real time. Furthermore, the dean continued, the board has called an emergency meeting for this afternoon. Patricia Donovan, your position on the board will be reviewed given your documented involvement in academic fraud. Mother's face was the color of her pearls, pale, cold, and cracking under pressure. The dominoes fell fast. Dean Harrison read from his phone as updates poured in. The Richardson Scholarship Foundation has formally requested repayment of the $200,000 awarded to Victoria Donovan. Full repayment is due within 90 days. $200,000, more than my family had ever spent on me in 18 years. The Connecticut Education Board is opening an investigation into academic fraud at the secondary level, going back to Victoria's high school records. High school. This went deeper than even I'd known. 3 graduate programs that had accepted Ms. Donovan for fall enrollment have rescinded their offers. Each announcement was another nail in the coffin of Victoria's carefully constructed future. The girl who'd posted "living my best life while others struggle" was watching that life disintegrate. A man in a suit approached the stage, the college's legal counsel. He whispered to Dean Harrison, who nodded gravely. Ladies and gentlemen, I must inform you that this ceremony is now part of an official academic investigation. We ask that no one leave until we've documented witness statements. 500 people, all witnesses to the most public academic fraud revelation in the school's history. Mother finally found her voice. You planned this. You've been planning this for years. No, I said, meeting her eyes. You planned this when you raised a daughter to believe she could buy her way through life. I'm just the bill coming due. My phone buzzed. Marcus had sent a link to a Twitter thread already going viral. Breaking. Tech millionaire exposes sister's academic fraud at graduation ceremony. The sister stole her code while she was homeless. The internet was faster than justice, but today they were aligned. Ms. Uma Donovan, the dean said formally, the board would like to thank you for your donation and your commitment to academic integrity. Your funding will help ensure this never happens again. I nodded, then looked at my family one last time. The saddest part? If you'd just been proud of my success instead of trying to destroy it, we could have celebrated together today. But they'd made their choice 5 years ago. Today was just the receipt. Mother broke through security's line. Desperation gives you strength you didn't know you had. She reached the stage, her perfect composure finally shattered. How could you do this to your family? Her voice cracked, raw and disbelieving. I looked at her calmly. How could you leave your daughter homeless for pursuing her dreams? You chose to leave. You changed the locks. You told people I had mental problems. You tried to destroy my company last week with lies. The audience was silent, watching our family's dysfunction play out like a Shakespeare tragedy. We gave you everything. You gave Victoria everything. You gave me an eating disorder, an anxiety disorder, and a complex about never being enough. The only thing you didn't give me was a choice. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the saved messages. Would you like me to read your text from 5 years ago? The ugly one finally showed her true colors, a failure and a dropout. Don't contact us again. Several parents in the audience gasped. Or Victoria's email from when I was living in my car? While you're flipping burgers, I just got into Harvard Law's early admission. She knew I was homeless and chose to mock me. Victoria stood up, mascara streaked and shaking. You're destroying my life out of jealousy. No, I said firmly. You destroyed your own life out of laziness. You had every advantage, money, connections, support, and you still chose to steal. You stole from the sister you called ugly and worthless, thinking she'd never amount to anything. I turned back to Mother. You want to know how I could do this? The same way you could throw me away, easily, and without looking back. We're your family. No. Family doesn't abandon you for being imperfect. Family doesn't mock your dreams. Family doesn't try to sabotage your success. You're just people I share DNA with. Security finally reached Mother, gently but firmly escorting her from the stage. I'm not pursuing legal action, I called after them. The truth is punishment enough, but if you contact me again, if you spread one more lie about me, my lawyers will handle it. As they were led away, I added one final thing. I'm not your ugly dropout anymore. I'm your consequence. The auditorium erupted in applause. One more thing, I said, raising my hand to quiet the applause. I mentioned a scholarship program. The screen behind me changed to display the Authentic Achievement Award. $1 million per year will fund 5 students who've overcome family rejection, abandonment, or abuse. Students who've been told they're not enough but refuse to believe it. The criteria appeared on screen. Demonstrated resilience in the face of family trauma. Academic achievement without family support. Commitment to helping others from similar backgrounds. No requirement for traditional markers of success. The first recipient, I announced, is already here. A young woman in the third row looked up, surprised, as an administrator approached her. Sarah Chen was disowned by her family for choosing engineering over medicine. She's been working 3 jobs to stay in school while maintaining a 3.9 GPA. She also volunteers 20 hours a week tutoring kids from broken homes. Sarah was crying as she stood, and the audience gave her a standing ovation. 4 more scholarships will be awarded this year, because no student should have to choose between family and dreams. No one should sleep in their car to afford textbooks. No one should be called worthless for refusing to fit someone else's mold. Dean Harrison returned to the microphone. This is the largest scholarship endowment in our history. Ms. Donovan, would you consider joining our board? No, I said simply. Boards are political. I prefer impact over influence. The money speaks for itself. I looked at the camera. Someone was streaming this live, and I knew who might be watching. To anyone out there who's been called ugly, worthless, or a failure by people who should love you, you are none of those things. You are temporarily misunderstood by people permanently committed to misunderstanding you. Build your life anyway. The truth was, I hadn't originally planned the scholarship. But standing there, watching Sarah Chen cry with relief, I realized this was what the money was really for. Not revenge. Redemption. Not just mine, but for everyone who'd been where I'd been. Success, I concluded, isn't about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. 6 months later, the full aftermath was clear. Victoria's degree was officially revoked after a thorough investigation revealed the fraud went back to freshman year. She had to repay $200,000 in scholarship money, forcing my parents to sell their vacation home in the Hamptons. Mother was permanently removed from all academic boards. The scandal followed her through Connecticut society. Turns out, encouraging academic fraud is worse for your reputation than having an ugly dropout daughter. Victoria's Instagram, once filled with luxury and accomplishment, went dark. The last post before deactivation was a Notes app apology that reeked of legal counsel. I take full responsibility for my actions and am seeking help for my issues. Meanwhile, my company's valuation hit $100 million after the acquisition expansion. We'd helped 500,000 students across all 50 states. The technology Victoria had stolen for her thesis was now the backbone of educational programs in underserved communities. 15 students had received the Authentic Achievement Award so far. Their stories made mine look easy. Kids who'd been kicked out for being gay, disowned for refusing arranged marriages, abandoned for having learning disabilities. Each one brilliant, resilient, and determined to succeed despite everything. The letters poured in daily, hundreds of people sharing similar stories of family rejection, theft, and gaslighting. I read every one, though I couldn't respond to all. 3 months after graduation, I received a letter with familiar handwriting. No return address, but I knew. Uma, I know I have no right to contact you. I'm in therapy now, real therapy, not the kind where you pay someone to agree with you. I'm beginning to understand what we did to you. What I did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I see it now, how wrong we were, how cruel I was, how much you achieved despite us. Your success isn't about us. It never was. I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to understand that. Victoria. I kept the letter but didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, light the way forward instead of back. Looking back, people ask if I regret exposing my family so publicly. The answer is no. Not because I enjoyed it, there's no joy in watching anyone fall apart, even people who hurt you. But because silence would have been complicity. Every time we let plagiarism slide because of connections, every time we ignore abuse because it's family business, every time we choose comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths, we become part of the problem. My mother and sister had 5 years to apologize, to make amends, to show growth. Instead, they tried to destroy my business with lies when they needed something from me. They made their choice. I simply provided consequences. The real victory wasn't their downfall. It was the 15 students who could now afford college. It was the professor who could finally speak truth without fear. It was the institution that could now enforce its standards equally. Your worth was never determined by their words. Read that again. I was called ugly, worthless, and a failure by the people who should have loved me most. Those words nearly broke me. Living in my car, stealing shower time at gyms, eating one meal a day to save money, that almost broke me. But almost is the key word. Because here's what I learned, sleeping in that Honda, coding until my eyes burned, building something from nothing. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success that helps others succeed. It's turning your pain into someone else's possibility. My family gave me trauma. I turned it into a $100 million company and 20 full scholarships. They called me ugly. I became undeniable. They called me a dropout. I became unstoppable. They called me nothing. I became everything they said I couldn't be. And if I can do it, sleeping in a car, cut off from everything, starting from below zero, so can you. Your story matters. Your dreams matter. You matter. Even if they never see it, especially if they never see it. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone. Like and subscribe not just to support this channel, but to help stories like this reach people struggling with family rejection. Comment boundaries. If you believe in setting healthy limits with toxic people, no matter who they are. And remember, sometimes the best revenge